In today's video, I'm going to review two new albums by the Butcher Babies. So I'm going to do them both in one video. The first album, or it's more of an EP, it's called Eye for an Eye. And the second one is called Till the World's Blind. They were both released on July 7th, 2023 through Century Media Records. So Butcher Babies is a band from Los Angeles consisting of Heidi Shepherd and Carla Harvey, and guitarist Henry Flury, bassist Ricky Bonazza, and drummer Chase Brickenden. This band is very unique. They have two female vocalists, and if you put them in a specific genre, they mix like heavy metal, groove metal, and thrash. I guess you can call it that. They're influenced by bands such as Pantera and Slipknot. Their biggest influence is Wendy O Williams from the Plasmatics. And they actually took the name from a Plasmatics song called Butcher Baby. So the reason they like Wendy O Williams because she was one of the first women in heavy metal who was someone who just like had that attitude and like did whatever she wanted. The stage show has been very theatrical, drawing influence from bands like Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie. They're big fans of horror movies, and they haven't been around too long, but they do have a pretty big following. The two albums are very different. According to vocalist Carla Harvey, Eye for an Eye was made in sun-drenched Arizona desert, while during the recording of Till the World's Blind, the band was holed up, making music in the dead of winter in Midland, Michigan. So Harvey also said, "You could hear the warmth in Eye for an Eye and the cold desolation in Till the World's Blind. Together they encompass light and dark, fire and ice, and in my opinion, you need both elements to make something truly great." So Eye for an Eye is more of an EP. It's about 24 minutes long. Has a radio edit of Sleeping with the Enemy featuring the guitars from Five Finger Death Punch, Andy James. Till the World is Blind is a full length with 14 songs and can be compared to their previous albums. They have a cover song called Best Friend, originally by Saweetie and Doja Cat. And the song, this is the part, features Chad Gray from Mudvayne and Hellyeah. So the first review is for Eye for an Eye. This is disc 1. Opening track, Sleeping with the Enemy, has some pop-style vocals with metalcore-style guitar riff. It's a catchy song. It's a mix of the harsh and clean vocals and has an electronic feel. Bottom of a Bottle sounds like pop music with some heavier guitar riffs. It's a catchy song, sounded more like a pop song, and the guitar interlude was pretty good. Yorktown sounded a little more like industrial with like sound bites and like the thick bass guitar sound. This was one of the better songs with a heavier feel and some cheerleader style vocals. This had a mix of pop and metal that blended very well. Dreaming in Color was mostly a pop song with a radio-friendly sound, with a heavy bottom end as well as electronic sounds, and the breakdown was not too bad. Last Dance was more of a pop song like the others. It had an electronic sound, probably like the poppiest song on the album. It's Killin' Time Baby features Craig Mabbitt of Escape to Fate, one of the heavier songs on this particular album. It had harsh vocals and brutal guitar riffs, had a good mix of the heavy and electronic sounds. Then the other version of Sleeping with the Enemy with Andy James of Five Finger Death Punch. It was pretty much the same song, just a few seconds shorter. I didn't really hear much difference between the two versions. So this is more of an EP. It was okay. The songs were a lot more radio friendly than the band usually plays, and a lot of these songs have been released already. Like some of them were like have been out for like 2 years or so. But my score for this particular EP, Eye for an Eye, is 7 out of 10. But let's move on to the next album. Let's see if it's any better. So this one has 14 tracks. Definitely more of a traditional kind of a Butcher Babies, very like a heavier album. So I'll just go through the highlights instead of going track by track. So we have track number 2, Red Thunder. This was one of the singles. It reminded me a lot of Slipknot mixed with modern pop music. It was a mix of the harsh and the clean vocals. There were blazing guitar solos and fast-paced drum. Beaver Cage was one of the singles, and the song that reminded me of Slipknot. It has some harsh vocals and some rap style vocals. There was a lot going on in this song. They mixed the brutal guitar riffs with pop music sound. Best Friend was the cover song I was talking about before, but they made it into a heavy and brutal song, like in the style of like Slipknot. I don't think I've heard the original song, but it was heavy and aggressive and lots of different vocal styles. And this is the part with Chad Gray of Mudvayne. A very soft song. It's a ballad with emotional lyrics. Has the male and female vocals and more of a pop song, but I actually liked it a lot. There was a guitar solo, and this was actually one of my favorites, even though it is like one of like the softer songs on the album. And then I think some of the songs towards the end were some of my favorites. For example, Kingpin was like a thrash metal type of song with lots of heavy guitar riffs and fast drumming. The song stands out amongst the others as one of my favorites. The Devil Cut Me Off, another heavy song with some heavy vocals and gang vocals. This had the thick bass guitar sound and an aggressive tone. It was also kind of catchy. The title track, Till the World's Blind, this was the longest song. I had like 5 minutes and something. The song was like kind of dark and angry. It was more atmospheric. It was like slower moving, but the riffs were like very brutal. The vocals were like clean and spacey at times, and they do this like bass guitar solo part and then some harsh vocals later on. This was actually one of my favorites. It was just one that really like stood out amongst the others, and that's about it, because like the last song is just like this filler track with like just some guy like speaking gibberish. But this was the better of the two albums. I like the second half of the album a lot better. I think like the songs more towards the end were a lot better, but it's more of a typical Butcher Babies type of album. I think all the songs were pretty good. This band's unique, and they can put out a great album. I'm actually glad they divided it into two albums, because the first one, like, if they had mixed it together and had like one long album or an album that was like an hour plus, I think it would have brought it down. But I like that they split it up, because this was the better album. So my score for this particular album is an 8.5 out of 10. So that is all. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Please remember, like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out this video right here, and I will see you in the next one.